This video is an introduction to the coordinate plane. So the coordinate plane is a plane. Plane is a two-dimensional space in geometry. And the coordinate plane is special because it is divided into four regions based on one vertical line and one horizontal line. The horizontal line, that's this one going across, that one's called the x-axis. So this whole thing is called the x-axis. And the vertical line is called the y-axis. And as you can see, they split the plane up into four regions. We call those four regions cleverly quadrants. Quad is a prefix that means four. And the y-axis and the x-axis meet right here. That particular point is called the origin. So the place where the x-axis intersects the y-axis is called the origin. And then anytime we put anything else in the coordinate plane, we always refer to its location based on how far it is from the origin. When we represent anything in the coordinate plane, we represent the specific points using an ordered pair. Ordered pairs are always of the form x comma y. And what that means is that this is telling us how much left or right this particular spot is from the origin. This one tells us how much above or below the x-axis we are. So they're kind of like, it's like a set of directions. This one is always how far we move left or right. This one is always how far we move up or down. As I mentioned, we have four quadrants, and the quadrants have special names. This one is called quadrant 1. This one is called quadrant 2. This one is called quadrant 3. And this one is called Fred. Just making sure you're still paying attention. It's not called Fred. It's obviously called quadrant 4. Keep in mind that these are Roman numerals, and Roman numerals for 4 is IV. That's 1 before 5 is 4. We also want to talk about the ordered pairs in each of these four quadrants and what the signs look like for those. So if we're in quadrant 1, that means we're going to the right from the origin and we're going up from the x-axis. So if we're going to the right and up, going to the right means we're moving in the positive x direction, and going up means we're moving in the positive y direction. So the way we can represent any ordered pair in quadrant 1 is the x-coordinate is positive and the y-coordinate is also positive. So I just do like a little plus sign for each to say, okay, x is positive and y is positive. In quadrant 2, to get to quadrant 2, that means we needed to go left from the origin. Going left means that we went in the negative direction. Think of a number line where the origin is 0. These numbers are positive to the right of 0. These numbers are negative to the left of 0. So we had to move left, but also to get into quadrant 2, we would have to move up. So moving to the left means that x is negative, but moving up means that y is positive. So in quadrant 2, any x-coordinate is negative, any y-coordinate is positive. Down in quadrant 3, to get to quadrant 3, I would need to go to the left from the origin, so I'm moving in the negative direction for x. And then also I would need to move down, which would be the negative direction for y. So in quadrant 3, all ordered pairs have a negative x-coordinate and a negative y-coordinate. And last but not least, quadrant 4. So to get to quadrant 4, I would move to the right. That's moving in the positive direction for x. So the x-coordinates here in quadrant 4 are positive. And to get to quadrant 4, I would have to go down from the x-axis. That would be moving in the negative y direction. So each of those would be have a negative y-coordinate. So that's what the coordinates will look like in the different quadrants. We're going to move on to the coordinate plane over here, and we're going to plot each point, and then we're going to state its location. When it says state its location, it means, is it in a quadrant, and if so, what quadrant is it in? It doesn't mean that that point A is in Massachusetts, while B is in Canada, C is over in Kenya. That's not quite what that means. So we could use these quadrants and the axes to help us. First, we're going to plot point A, negative 5, negative 4. So negative 5, that's telling us that we're going in the negative direction for x. We start at the origin, we go 5 units to the left. The negative 4 is telling us to go down 4 units from that spot. So I'm here, I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. When we label points in the coordinate plane, you have a few options. You can just use the single capital letter that you see near that point. You can assign one if there's not already one there. Or you can write the ordered pair itself, but you shouldn't just leave a point in the coordinate plane because then your professor isn't super sure that you actually know which point you're referring to. It also asks us to state its location. So if we look here, if we correspond back to here, it looks like we're in quadrant 3. We can verify if we're in quadrant 3, then both x and y should be negative. We see both x and y are negative. So this is in, we can just say Q3. Point B is at, oh no, fractions, not fractions. You can do this, you got this. 4/3, so 4/3, let's convert it to a mixed number. 3 goes into 4 1 whole time, and then there's 1 left over. There we go, 1 1/3. 11/4, 4 goes into 11 2 whole times, and then we have 3/4. So 4/3, 11/4 is equivalent to 1 1/3, 2 3/4. 1 1/3, that's like going past 1 but not quite reaching 2, so maybe like right here, right? If we split this into thirds, maybe it's this first one. 2 3/4, that's going up 2 and then almost getting to 3 but not quite, so it might be like right here. And we're going to call this point B. Point B is located in quadrant 1. We know that first of all by looking at the graph, but also by looking at the coordinates. Positive and positive means that we are in quadrant number 1. The next point, negative 1.7, 3.8. So negative 1.7 is moving to the left, not quite going over to negative 2, maybe right here. And then 3.8 is moving up, 1, 2, 3, and then up a little bit more. We're going to put our point C there. Point C is located in quadrant 2, which we can verify based on the point, because in quadrant 2, x's are negative, y's are positive. Lastly, we have point D at 0, the square root of 5. 0 indicates to us that we are not moving left or right. And then the square root of 5 is approximately 2.24. So we would go up 2 and then a little bit more maybe here. And that would be point D. Now, its location. It's kind of on the fence here. It looks like it's like in 1 but also in 2. We can't give it 2 different locations. It should just be in 1. Because it's not in a quadrant, it is lying on the y-axis. We would say its location is the y-axis. This one does have a special name. Any point that lies on the y-axis is actually called a y-intercept. And then while there's no example, we can also talk about ones that lie on the x-axis. So if we just look at 4, 0, this is the point 4, 0, that lies on the x-axis. And any point that lies on the x-axis is called an x-intercept.